Much, much better. So, hi, Vaughn.
Alright, I believe we fixed it. Yes. Hello. I'm really interested, though, to see what these racers do, just because the open world seeds were the norm, I guess, for a while on this randomizer, but personally, I've only completed one or two of them, so there's a lot of different routing choices open to the runners here, and I'm really curious to see what everyone does. I assume that we'll see a couple of free checks, but it is progress times 3, so
Sorry.
could get burned.
I'm sorry.
I'm sat here. Free checks.
I'm sat here doubled over laughing, staring at the Go-Go starting character.
Yeah, that itself, Go-Go starting, and this is a single character start, correct? So that's their only character.
You could tell I rolled this seed. And a 32 battle cursed shield. That is the highest it could be in this seed.
Wow.
Ooh, this is spicy.
This is what happens when Future doesn't check no Go-Go Umaro when he's picking the starting characters.
This is what happens when Future selects one of Atma's created presets to use as a baseline. Meanwhile, Mr. Entity...
okay with you starting with Go-Go?
Mr. Entity considering Go-Go versus Katana Soul, no.
Yeah, that's not something you want to see that early. You're happy to see the Katana Soul, but also you're not happy to be single character with just Go-Go fighting it. Oh, that is unfortunate. He has to go and reset his settings.
What have I done?
What have you done, Future?
I'm kind of proud.
You've rolled some seeds, but this is something.
So here's one for you, chat. What commands can Go-Go equip if there's no one in the party with him? You're not going to like the answer. Because I'm pretty sure it's none. Like,
yeah,
not even fight an item.
Jack? Yeah, I think somebody already went into the status to try and give Go-Go some commands and discovered that without any other party members, you don't get anything, not even fight or item. And I'm pretty sure definitely not magic, because Go-Go has no magic table of his own, so...
I mean, Mimic, without another character, I believe, will just echo the fight command. So that's not so bad if they can get a weapon on Go-Go. But with progress times 3 scaling, meaning that the enemies level up 3 times for every required character, Esper or Dragon our players get, they are not going to want to do many before getting some levels in, I think.
Jack finding an Esper in Sealed Cave, which is not what you want to see right away with a Go-Go start, because Go-Go cannot use those Espers.
Oh, we have a Golem
Froggle finding another Esper. At least it's Golem. That will give you relieve some pressure for the final battle, knowing that you have Golem in your pocket.
I really hope we don't end up seeing the first ever reset of a race.
Oh my goodness, and we've got Mr. Entity going up to the Elder's house in Narshe, which is not a chest you see every day, but it's just a boomerang, which is not really what you want to see, and that is kind of what we need to get used to as viewers and what our runners will need to get used to. With tiered chests, they're not going to be seeing a lot of powerful items in those chests.
Oh, we have a Terror for Jack. I've only just noticed that.
Yep, I hope it's easy to tell where. I think it was Gao's dad's house.
Yeah, it was Gao Manor, and she's equipped an Esper with Ice 2 on it. That's a good start. Plus, it means Go-Go can do commands now.
Yes, it means Go-Go has options, and also Terra will be able to use those Espers, so she'll be able to learn magic, and through that, Go-Go will also learn spells.
There is a potential bonus to having Go-Go, though. Somewhere out there, there is a potential for characters to have the Possess ability, which Go-Go can equip.
Yes, it's true. Possess will just send a character back to the airship if they use it and they are not the ghost in the vanilla game. So
I'm sorry, did Terra have Rage?
I think Terra has Rage, yes. That's actually not bad here, I don't think, because depending on what fights you end up fighting, that could end up being really helpful, especially if there's a stray cat in the encounter pool somewhere. Terra can equip a lot of really powerful weapons that would benefit a lot from a Cat Scratch Rage.
Okay, so Jack is going into the Serpent Trench with enemies at around level 12, and he's level 3. What do you make of this?
It's a bit scary. I haven't seen if he's picked up breakables or found any breakables in shops. But if you get lucky here and it's something you can kill, you could potentially get a lot of experience. And it looks like Terra has a White Dragon Rage, so you have a pretty good option for offense. And that means Gogo will have the White Dragon Rage as well. And it looks like Terra has a Scimitar, which got a lucky Viscerate there.
That's a big word.
I'm pretty sure that's actually what the effect is called in the game.
Really?
I'm not sure, though.
Did not know that.
I could be wrong, but I think that's what it's called when those weapons activate that effect. I'm sure Cecil would know.
Now those Humpties are actually quite a decent fight, because they are undead. So if you happen to be packing Revivifies. As are the Zombies.
It's true, and the Humpties aren't very threatening, and neither are these Zombones, because they are undead, like you said. But also just their script isn't particularly menacing. They don't generally act very quickly, so you have some time.
Well, hopefully he'll run into some Ogres or something to liven it up a little bit.
Yep, and it looks like Mystery going for the Figaro Throne check. I think that was Phantom. Another Esper that you like to see. Unfortunately, again, Gogo isn't going to be able to use those Espers, so...
You know, unpopular opinion, I don't like Phantom.
I don't think it's that unpopular. It's very hard to time the Phantom properly unless you have a character that deals so much damage overwhelmingly that you can just set it to right before their attack and pray. Otherwise, because a lot of Sleep's other attacks will remove Vanish, I kind of agree. It's not really that good of a calmness counter.
Yeah, for me, Image is a much better stage than Vanish.
Oh yes, it's definitely much better. And unfortunately, Jack running into an encounter could not handle there. So that will be a wipe.
I think we could be seeing a lot of the title screen tonight, chat.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. I think Serpent Trench there was a good idea to get some experience. Unfortunately, just ran into an encounter that cast some spells, and the base damage on a lot of spells means that they will deal a considerable amount of damage to an underleveled character.
So Jack, by that reset, dropped back to before he completed the Veldt check. So he's got to acquire Unicorn again. And it looks like he's choosing to try his luck somewhere else.
I'm a bit surprised, but it does look like Jack has decided not to spend as much time looting, probably because of tiered chests, and potentially to check out some checks ahead of time. It looks like he is taking some time to go back to South Figaro and pick up some weapons. That Aura Sword is actually not a bad pickup there. It's a pretty high damage weapon early on. Though, of course, there's not any sword tech or anything in play that would really take advantage of that well. Unfortunately.
You could say this is a gotta go fast seed. Yes, you could, Imp.
That's actually a pretty good one.
I'm glad to see you're finally coming around to the pun life, by the way. You're not allowed to ban me anymore now you've done that.
But if you're not getting threatened with bans, then it will never be the same. I guess even I've made puns in the Discord at this point, though, so... Oh, there's another Aura Sword in there. Are these just really tiered?
Change is inevitable. Did I just say... Oh no, that's a Gale hairpin. That's not the fun thing.
I don't think this is really an encounter you want to see with single Go-Go on Mildane's screen. Apparently he agreed. Double Ninja's kind of scary. And this is random scaled abilities, is that right?
That's a very good question. Scale element.
Ah, scale element. I think that's almost a bit scarier because that does mean that you can still get some of those really threatening non-elemental attacks and things like that fairly early on.
You can, but that happens in scaled random as well, and at least for scaled element you can at least try to protect against elements.
Yeah, well, in characters, or bosses I should say, like Doom or Poltergeist, will still use predominantly the element that they would normally use, so you are right. With a scaled element, you do have the ability to at least counter elements, even though wall rings and things aren't as effective as counters.
Meanwhile, someone needs to tell Mildane that that fight's a trap.
It certainly is.
Entity and Jack aren't even in the same location. What stream are you watching?
Yeah, it looks like Jack, is that this tunnel armor? Or, yep, that's tunnel armor. I think that's a pretty good early check. It's quick, the boss is easy to get to.
Ooh, but it's Guardian and...
Jack didn't take advantage of it.
Guardian bad.
Yeah, you don't really want to see that. There's some benefits to Guardian in that he doesn't really have a lot of weird elemental resists or anything like that, but he can be pretty threatening, especially to a low-level party.
Yeah, and when he's quadrupled the level...
Oh, yeah. And it looks like Jack is content to just rage on a Bolt 2 rage and hope that Guardian dies. I don't think that's necessarily a bad strategy. I think it will get you through the fight quickly either way.
I think Ultros is about to disagree.
Yeah, Ultros is... Here comes the tentacle.
Boy, did Ultros disagree.
That is kind of the problem with Guardian. If you can't DPS him down quickly, that tentacle can be really dangerous early on, especially just because the base damage is pretty high, and you really... I don't think Jack really had a lot of physical defense there. Looks like Fraggle finding some Humpties and deciding he doesn't want to fight them, which is...
I would say that more than tickled Imp.
It's a shame maybe can't even...
Sorry, maybe it tickled by a factor of 10? Yeah? Yeah?
Would you say that Ultros tentacled him?
That was the implication, yes. By the way, do you like your name on the stream?
Yeah, I saw that. I was going to say something about it, in fact, before I got robot voice. I gotta carry on the tradition.
Ooh, level 80 magic and you can't run away for Fraggle. That's, yep.
Yeah,
that's bad.
That's... You never want to see those level anything magics, really. They are quite annoying to fight, but with one character and no commands, you definitely don't. Especially because, as you discovered, they can be difficult or impossible to escape from.
Yes, indeed.
Looks like Mildane taking some time to gather some items and to check some shops. I don't think it's a bad strategy. Looks like he hasn't actually completed any free checks yet, and is just electing to gather some items first.
Yeah, I mean, there is potential of there being elemental rods and elemental shields in the shop.
Yeah, and I think that would really help a lot. I mean, Gogo still would need another character in the party to really take advantage of those breakables, but I think that's going to be a way that our runners might use to try and break the seed open if they can find those items. Just because starting with Gogo here really does give you some reduced offensive options.
Interesting from Mildane, he's deliberately avoiding anything that isn't a character in his free checks. That could be a very useful strategy.
Yeah, I think that could be a good play. We've seen Jack, who collected a bunch of Espers, ending up in a scenario where a lot of these bosses and these encounters are very high level compared to him.
I did notice elixirs in the calling an item shop in the World of Balance. That could be very, very useful when you've got a lot of money to spend later.
Yeah, especially if there's not a lot of healing available in the seed. That can come in particularly helpful against harder bosses or Kefka's Tower.
If I was Jack, I'd be very scared right now because the enemies are now level 18-ish.
Yeah, that is a bit worrisome. I wonder if the hope is to find encounters that are easy enough that he can just get levels quickly from the progress.
Well, when the enemy is 6 times your level, I don't think Leet River is the place to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this play. This particular encounter isn't very threatening as the Mesosaurs are just going to run away. But it is a bit of a strange choice. But you know what? If you're hoping to get some quick experience, you will get a lot of fixed encounters here, so...
So, Fraggle has picked up Terra, so he is on his way.
Oh, and it looks like Golem teaches X-Zone too, which is nice. That could be useful for the final battle especially. Oh, and Gogo actually muddling the level 18 enemies with his level 3 muddle. It's actually a bit funny.
Well, that is some level, at least. A little bit of XP.
It's not very much, though. I think a lot of the Mesosaurs there ran away. So,
oh, no.
That's the unfortunate part of that. Oh, that's
no.
not what you want to see.
At least it's runnable.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Mildane has picked up Terra as well, so he is on his way.
Nice. And now the fact that he hasn't picked up any Espers may pay off because the enemies are only one level higher than him. So if he wants to start doing checks with bosses, he's in a pretty decent situation to do so if he has some offensive options. And with the rages Terra starts with, she kind of does.
That is also not a good there for Jack.
Oh, yeah. That is... Again, I'm not sure what the thought with Leet River. I think maybe he's checking the fixed encounter locations here just to see if any of them make for good grinding. Perhaps thinking that spending this time now will be beneficial in making his run faster in the future. I don't necessarily think it's a bad strategy. Ooh, this fight, unfortunately, you cannot run away from.
Oh, that rat was pulling no punches.
Ooh, that was a crit. That is not what you want to see.
Spicy. Well.
Looks like Mr. Entity has found a bit of a kinder encounter here with the Ghost Poplium duo. Well, duo maybe isn't the right word here, but...
Quadrio.
Quadrio
is what I'm going with. I'm pretty sure the word is quartet, but I like quadrio.
Well, we'll go with that.
We could just call it a quattro. Other car makes are available.
Well, unfortunately, I think... Yeah, it looks like the enemies are still going to be level 12 for Mr. Entity because he has picked up some Espers, so unfortunately...
The funniest thing is,
Fraggle's in the same boat, but
specific
Sorry,
mention
go
was
ahead.
made this week to remind our runners in the race channel, which we did, that progression times 3 is the scaling factor. And people are still going for the free lunch, so they really don't have anyone else to blame but themselves.
yeah, on a progress times 2 seed, you can kind of get away with going for the free checks early, because the enemy levels will only increase a little bit. Especially for like your first Esper character, enemy levels really only go up by 1 because of the fact that enemy levels can't be lower than 3. So you can sort of grab a few free checks and then go to grind, but I think you're right, on times 3, they probably should have done some grinding first. I do think, Mildane found, it looks like Magimaster, and just reset out immediately, which I think is a good play.
Yeah, that's a definite nope situation.
But it does look like Mildane, having collected the only one Esper, maybe in the best scenario to actually get some levels here. At least from what I can see. Of course, if one of our runners finds breakables or something of that nature, then that would certainly help a lot with killing a higher level encounter.
Well, Jack is on to his next set of fixed encounter checks in the Burning House.
Yep, and I would safely say that he's definitely just trying to find fixed encounters to farm at this point. Mr. Entity finding an Ice Shield in Thamasa, that is a nice pickup with tiered chests.
And Jack goes down again.
That is unfortunate. Some of those formations that are not that strong normally are just going to overpower you with numbers when you're that low level.
Ooh, our heroic tracker telling us that Thunder Rods are for sale in Zen World of Balance. Interesting.
Mr. Entity just found Tiger Fangs in Thamasa as well. I think that's a pretty good spot to check. I personally love to check the Thamasa chests anytime I can have an excuse to, just because it's quite a few free chests all just right next to each other.
You know, for all the talk about these tiered shops and chests, Mildane has a red jacket, a scimitar, a behemoth suit.
Yeah, but it's not the same as finding a fixed dice or an Illumina in an early chest. And I think we will see the runners find a lot of tonics and tinctures and things like that. At least that was my experience playing with tiered chests, where you may find a couple of good things, but also you find a lot of bad things.
They have some very good pieces of equipment, though. Behemoth suit is one of my favourite pieces of endgame armor.
We say that, and then there's a Falchion in the shop in Thamasa right there, which is a pretty good weapon if you actually want to utilize the attack power on it. At least for early on, it can be pretty useful, especially if you are swinging it.
Jack has now encountered a Mad Oscar, because apparently Marlborough wasn't a word back in 1990 whatever.
And it looks like Mr. Entity has found his Terra.
Yep, our last runner to find a good character.
Yep. It's funny that in open world finding the Terra I don't think is quite as impactful, because you don't get all of her checks unlocked. They were already unlocked.
You don't, but she has an amazing equipment pool.
It's true. That is one of Terra's big strengths. Her natural equipment just includes just about everything that's good in the game. I'm a bit surprised that none of our runners have checked Zen in the World of Balance or the World of Ruin and maybe found those rods in the World of Balance.
I mean, the thing is, do you really want to go and spend a lot of money when you have so many free checks?
Oh, I like to just check it early and see what the guy in the World of Balance says it is, because if it's dead, then I can just mark it off and not worry about it. Or I can remember if it's very cheap, then...
692 GP for a Genji helmet.
Nice.
Oh.
Does that mean that he saw the Thunder Rods? I'm curious.
That may be why we know they exist. I'm pretty sure Franklin isn't sat there running the seed at the same time as watching, or at least if he is, I want to know his secret.
I guess I'm just used to when we do the Kefka Grand Prix, and a lot of times he's run the seats ahead of time to fill out the tracking sheets.
Yes, very much.
This is not the case for this one.
But no, it looks like the random shops and the random chests are actually treating our runners quite nicely at the minute. Oh no, where's Jack going? There's a moment there when I thought he was going to the floating continent, and that would have been an interesting decision.
Yeah.
It looks like it's back
It
to
looks
the
like
burning
Mildane's
house.
finding a flame eater.
I would love someone to tell
Flame
me
eater
how
on
the
a
flame
waterfall?
eater exists in a waterfall, yeah. Do you even physics, bro?
That is delightful. I mean, to be fair, the fact that they're fighting in a waterfall is pretty unbelievable all by itself.
Meanwhile, there are comments from our runners raining inside the Discord chat for this race. It looks like I did it good.
Yes, it looks like many people are proclaiming this is a true future seed. Or, yeah, at least agreeing that it is. Some of the things are not appropriate for Randomania.
I cannot confirm or deny that this is a future seed, Cambo. But they
will.
started with Go-Go and only Go-Go, so you can figure that out for yourself.
I will certainly confirm it. Whether Future rolled it or not, it's definitely a future seed. But he did roll it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not like he can choose what happens in the seed. Sometimes it feels like people can, but it's not always like that.
Oh,
It looks...
Seaflower's down for Jack. He's making some progress.
Yeah, he's able to get some experience here, which I think will help a lot. I mean, if you're capable of taking these fixed encounters here, it's not bad, and he's now up to level 20, which is going to help a lot.
You know we're going to say all listeners going to be a poltergeist at the end of the house, right?
I mean, he's got ice too, so...
Which would be fantastic if poltergeist was weak to ice.
Yeah, at least it's not fire too, though.
Meanwhile, this Guardian fight for
Looks like
Fraggle
Fraggle-
looks like it's going a little bit slow.
Yeah. Well, getting a Pearl cast there, which is going to help. Maybe. I didn't see what level Fraggle is.
You're just trampling all over my joke, aren't you? Because both the characters have the slow status right now?
Frankly, I didn't even see that.
Can I get a substitute commentator, please? This one's malfunctioning.
Well, I mean, I was making a robot voice first. It looks like Mildane is going to Esper Mountain, and I think I spied Celeste as the reward here.
That'd be nice. Another character with some pretty good equipment options if you find the stuff. But
Another one that sort of gets dipped into the awesome pool. Vargas here is actually kind of threatening, though. Yeah, the bears especially can do some good damage early on if you don't have good physical defense.
Fun fact, I died to a Vargas in a run this week.
Same, actually.
It wasn't fun, it was in the burning house, as it happens.
Yep, same, actually. I think the same exact thing happened to both
Did
of us.
yours also know Wind Slash by any chance?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and it looks like Mildane has fallen to the Vargas, speaking of. That can be a bit of a dangerous fight early, just because Vargas does like to use AoE attacks, and then those bears will finish you off.
Is
Or
this-
vice versa.
Is this Ultros 4 for Jack, or just a rapidly moving Ultros 3?
I think this is Ultros. Is Ultros? I have no idea, frankly.
Oh, it could be 2, I suppose.
It could be Ultros 4. Yeah, it could be 2.
It's 2.
We don't hear his music right now. Oh, yep, there we go. That's actually a bit unfortunate because hopefully that is not going to work because that's not something you want to see. Oh, that's good. Since each one of these positions in this fight have different HP totals, so this is a bit unfortunate for Jack, just because any damage that his raging characters deal to this Ultros won't carry over to the next spot when he moves.
But here's the funny thing. People were complaining about the Ultros 2 mechanics because of the randomize and distort stats flag, which made him tricky to defeat. That flag is not on this week.
Yep, unfortunately, I think that it's just relying on the Bolt 2 procs from the Rage here, which Jack's been getting kind of lucky with it the last couple times, but they are fighting every once in a while, which does less damage.
Plus, Ultros 2 is level 21, and that's an Atma at the Welk spot for Fraggle. That's going to be fun.
Ooh, that's kind of unfortunate. Especially because I think elements outside of the 3 primary elements are the absorbed or otherwise ignored by this Atma, so you kind of have to be careful with what rages you use.
Well, that Jack made it through Ultros.
That is good. And that will leave him likely at a good level, or at least a much closer level to the enemies here moving forward.
I'm not sure there's a level good enough for this seed. But definitely a better one.
Yes, definitely a better level. Looks like Mr. Entity taking the time to go to World of Ruin South Figaro, which is another thing I personally like to do. There's just, again, a lot of chests all right next to each other. Mildane, I think, doing some grinding, which is not a bad idea in this seed. And Jack in the Phantom Train. What was the reward, I wonder? I didn't see. Bismarck.
Bismarck. Terrible Esper, but hopefully decent spells.
Yep, the Esper summon itself is pretty useless. Oh, this is not a fight you want to see, but it looks like... I think it's escapable if you want to run. Yep, that's why you don't want to see it.
Okay, Mildane just stood contemplating life for a moment at the start of Esper Mountain. Not sure what was going on there.
And it looks like Fraggle is fighting Chicken Lip in Doma? So is that grinding on the soldiers in Doma Castle?
And I'm pretty sure I just saw a Ragnarok summon come out. That's the thing.
That was indeed a Ragnarok summon. Oh, Fraggle's throwing Magicite.
Oh no.
It looks like there was Golem as well.
Oh no, I hear the sound of my people. Mr. Entity's at the Colosseum. Fighting an outsider with Go-Go, and that's not going to end well.
Ooh. Yeah, that's not what you want to see.
Nope.
Maybe the hope is... Oh, nope.
Go-Go isn't saying anything anymore.
Now, are the enemies in the Colosseum going to be affected by the scaling as well?
Yes, they are. I believe.
That would make sense. Ooh, Tritalk in the Phantom Train spot.
Yep, if you don't have a decent way of dealing fire or non-elemental
Oh, it's a
damage. That's
shame.
bad.
Yep, it's a shame that they have ice too then.
And Mildane is back for Vargas 2, Electric Boogaloo. A Crawler, that's a much nicer battle for Mr. Entity.
Unfortunately, Hudad, I don't think we have any audio for them, so we wouldn't really have a good way to track that.
Hopefully someone in chat can keep track of whether there's anything interesting at the Colosseum. Jack looks like he's reset again. I wonder what happened this time.
Mr. Entity will probably be happier with this fight compared to the other fight.
Dark Gear is not terrible if you don't have many better options for armor.
Yeah, well, in a seed like this where you don't know where your next good item is going to come from, it's not a bad piece of gear to have.
And Fraggle resetting out of a chicken lip fight. Jack about to
It is a
yeet
bit
himself.
unfortunate because he was on that for a while.
Yep, Jack yeeted himself off a mountain to fight a Flame Eater.
Now this is a time you're happy to have ice too.
It is indeed.
I don't think this is the fight you want to see. But I guess Mr. Entity is likely just trying just about anything. Especially because I'm pretty sure Gogo has the scimitar, so if you get the insta-kill, you just win.
Ooh, Flash Star for 2,000 damage on Gogo on Jack's screen. That's going to leave a mark.
Ooh. And that is Scaled Element in a nutshell right there.
Single target Flash Star hurts, yo.
It really does.
Mildane resetting out of Vargas again, unfortunately. You know, I'd apologize to our
Looks like
runners, but I
Jack.
don't think they'd believe me.
I wouldn't believe you either.
Yeah, looks like
But Jack
Flame Eater
did get
down.
through that Flame Eater fight.
And Mildane
So
looks like
let's
he's on
see
course for the
what's at
same
the
spot.
bottom of the waterfall.
Yeah, Mildane going to the same place for the same fight. Hello,
I'm a bit
Transcendence. Welcome to the
surprised.
stream.
I'm a bit surprised to see Mildane giving both characters wall rings here. I guess I don't think there's any healing magic that he's gotten yet, but that is a bit of a strange choice with Scaled Element because the characters are just, or the bosses are just as likely to use a Skeen or an otherwise unwall ringable ability.
Well, on the plus side, the bottom of the waterfall did not increase the enemy scaling because it was an XP egg.
Ooh, that's actually something you like to see in a progress-based seed. I wonder if we'll see our runners
It already got
find it,
equipped on
utilize
Terra.
it. Not surprising, that is a pretty good character for it as well, because Terra's base stats are pretty jack of all trades, but the experience egg will increase her damage all around just by giving her a higher level. Turns her into a powerhouse with her base stats and some of the gear that she can use.
And we have multiple runners attempting the Imperial camp right now.
I don't think it's a bad choice here. It is a bit slow if there's a character with a bunch of fixed encounters. That is true. Franklin in the chat.
I mean-
Dragons are scaled.
You say low-scaled dragon, but everybody's kind of got the scaling a little bit ahead of them. Or at least for a long part of this
Yeah.
seed.
I think that Mildane is the closest in level. Maybe Jack, now that he's gotten some levels.
Jack
at
is
least
ahead
in
of
the
the curve,
vicinity of his scaling.
so his enemies
But I do
are
kind
around...
of agree.
His, Jack's enemies are level 23 to 26, and Jack is 27 on Terra. So he's getting there.
Though there aren't any dragons required for this seed, right?
Nope, no dragons required today. Just 7 characters, 10 espers.
So that could be why we haven't seen anyone do it early, just because they have hope that they won't need that for grinding, and then that will save them some time. Because most of the checks that have dragons in them are a bit slower. Phoenix Cave, Ancient Castle. They can take some time either just to get to or to get out of.
Well, Mildane has picked up his XP egg, and naturally I go straight on Terra.
Yep, I think that's the character for it. There's some argument you could make for putting it on Gogo just because their base stats are so low that increasing their HP helps them a lot. But I think Terra is likely the better choice, especially in a progress-based seed where it's not going to increase the enemy's levels.
Mr. E has found Ultros 3 in the sky, and Jack is getting bullied by Vargas.
Yep, he kind of is. It is not a fun fight to run into with only 2 characters, I feel like. Even though it is an early game boss, those bears hurt. One of them just
those bear claws are
swiping
definitely the non-delicious variety.
Well, it's true. Oh, Fraggle also finding the Magimaster, it looks like, and resetting out.
As predicted,
is a
many
good choice.
reset screens.
Yep, we got Jack wiping again here. Mr. Entity looking for those Thunder Rods. I'm a bit surprised with Gogo in the party that we didn't see Terra throw a Thunder Rod and then Gogo mimic it. But maybe that's too cheesy for Mr. Entity.
Well, Gogo ain't mimicking anything anymore.
Yep, I guess that's true. And with Terra using a Rage, this fight kind of hinges on her killing the Ultros, which with Pearl, that'll get there, but... Yes, I believe that our runners are going to be very salty. They might have some words for future after this
Cam,
run.
I don't have to imagine it because I'm in the Discord channel watching it.
It's true. The runners do have a channel to yell at us, and they are taking advantage of that. I mean, not me as much, because I didn't roll the seed.
You were part of the discussion.
Was that-
Don't try and worm your way out of this.
Was that an Odin summon on Fraggle's screen, getting rid of all the bomblets?
That
Because
was
that's
too
kind of
accurate. That
hilarious.
must have been Raiden.
Oh, Mildane taking another shot at the Guardian fight. And it looks like Mr. Entity fought Doomgaze. Probably sad to see that it's
Ooh.
dead, but it is
Paladin
a Paladin
shield.
shield.
It's not that
Which-
dead.
It's
Of
not that
course.
dead, that's true.
Of course, we couldn't be nice and leave them with the Ultima spell. No, that's turned off.
Well, Paladin Shield is still, I think, one of the best items you can get from those good item checks. So,
Oh, yeah.
Kudos. That is incredibly helpful. It's just very, gives you a lot of resistances, an incredible defensive item. Jack looks like giving Vargas another shot. The bears are dead, which I think is a good play, with only 2 characters especially.
Flame Eater down for Fraggle, so he's going to pick up an XP egg.
It looks like Mildane spamming Flash Rain from a Rage. Not a bad choice. And Jack getting through the Vargas to find Celeste with capture, unfortunately. but it looks like natural magic, and I don't know if Jack saw it, but I did, and Celeste has Berserk.
Interesting. That's an anti-Magic Master strategy, at least.
Yep, it's a very reliable anti-Magic Master strategy.
So yeah, that's Fraggle's
I personally
XP.
think that's the best one.
Mr. Entity finds the Atma. Thunder Rods will work here. And they are now being mimicked.
Yep, there we go. I'm not surprised we see it here. Atma is a very challenging boss, no matter what level you're at, really. Unless you are at the very end of a seed and very powerful. Though I guess Mr. Entity did find some good items here. And it's just going to keep mimicking that Thunder Rod, which is a good play.
Mildane drops Guardian for a nice hefty pile of XP and some kind of reward. The Ramu Magicite. Big shout outs to our tracker today, by the way, Franklin, who is tracking 4 runners who are potentially going to very, very different places at the same time, and that cannot be an easy task, so make sure you give him some love, please, folks.
Yep, a more linear seed, I imagine, is much easier to track because it's really just tracking which runners have gotten through the wall and which runners have gotten further down the line. An open world seed, we could very well see our runners take completely different paths, though we have seen some similarities, of course. It looks like Fraggle going up to Lone Wolf without a Moogle Charm on, which I think is not a bad play. If you can grind these encounters, it's a nice way to sort of take care of 2 birds at once. Get your grinding out of the way, and then make the run up to Lone Wolf, and then see what's at Kefka at Nourish while you're up there as a sort of bonus.
Well, Mildane is back to bash his head against the Vargas wall. Hopefully things will work out a bit better this time as Jack climbs to Zozo.
I think this is a good choice here. Zozo is a pretty good check. There's some chests along the way if you want to open them. No fixed encounters or anything like that. It is a bit slow, but if you have warp stones, you can warp out, so that is always nice. And even if you don't want to go too far off the path, there are a couple of chests, like Jack just demonstrated, that are very close together and very close to the path.
That encounter for Fraggle, not something you generally want to see.
Yeah, the benefit of winning this encounter is you end up with, is the no leap on for rages? Do you know?
It will be, yes.
Because the benefit for getting through this encounter with no leap on is that you have the giant behemoth rage.
Yeah, decent. Cast Meteor. Or Meteo, one of them.
I think it's Meteor.
Something along those lines. It's big rocks and fire. That's all you need to know.
Oh, it looks like Jack found Thunder Shields as well, or Thunder Rods as well.
And almost appropriately, Lone Wolf has Umaro.
Ooh.
Which I'm sure our runners are going to be thrilled to see.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Entity putting the Yeti in the party for now, I can't imagine that will be a permanent thing.
And he's just discovered that Equivalent Umaro is turned off.
Ooh, I mean, you were nice enough to give them not naked Umaro at least, right?
Yeah, I'm not that mean. It was just a mashing of the A button as if to say, why?
And Mog in Zozo, which is not everyone's favorite character, but his natural equipment pool does include spears, so he can be a good Dragoon if you're into that. Unfortunately, I don't think his stats are as suited for it as other characters, but the stats for physical attacking are almost irrelevant in comparison to the weapon and the level of the character.
Now, Mog stats are more suited to his dances, so for magic power.
Yep, it's true. Mog does have higher than average magic power, though it's still not as high as some of the much higher characters like Realm.
So we have Fraggle attempting the floating continent, and Mr. Entity at Kefkret Nash.
Yep, seeing that it's Cyan, I think that's not a bad play. It looks like gonna try and get some levels on the Yeti, which is not something you see every day. But that Snow Muffler on Umaro does make him, I think, a good candidate for your party early on in a seed like this, because he's going to be naturally ice resistant and
he's going to be
naturally
tanking hits like a champion.
Physical hits well.
Yeah.
Yep. So you can really sort of take advantage of him as a sort of tank for your party. And he also has that slam, which does ignore defense, giving it a lot of utility against different bosses. Unfortunately, he's really poorly suited to fighting some bosses, but you take the good with the bad.
Yeah, basically, Umaro fantastic against single target bosses, pretty dire against things like your Rexol and Flame Eater and...
Yep, and especially, Welk and bosses like that where you don't want to hit a specific part of the boss.
Stooges.
Really, really poorly suited to that. Stooges, yeah, where you need to focus down one boss or one part of the boss first. Though I have taken Umaro into Kefka's Tower into the final battle and had it work out, so...
Oh, I've won a race with Umaro before in the final battle.
Yeah. And I saw your clip of I think it was yours, of Imp Umaro,
yep.
Wasn't it?
Imp Umaro with Marvel shoes. And the only healing I had was potions.
Looks like Jack giving the Atma another shot. With 4 characters, this will be a bit more straightforward, especially with Thunder Rods, because Atma
hold the presses a second. Fraggle has bumped into Rexol. The Rexol no Zinger flag is turned off this week.
Ooh.
That's where you want that X-Zone spell.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
I didn't think it was possible, but the seed is getting better and better. MP, you proud of me, buddy?
Future confirmed monster. Looks like Mildane giving Daryl's Tomb a shot. Not a bad check, I don't think, early on, because the Tombstone will tell you what the reward is, and then if the boss is super hard and the reward isn't good, you just leave. Looks like Mr. Entity finally... Oh no. Kefkret Nash boss is Goddess, a character that the Yeti, unfortunately, is not suited for, unless Goddess just forgets to love token.
I believe I just saw a rename card come into play for Fraggle. Go-Go has been renamed. Why?
I think that's fair.
Ooh, love token on the Terror. That's bad.
I mean, that was a beefy hit from the Tiger Claws, and yeah, you can't do that anymore, Mr. Entity. You gotta cast spells now. I think, yeah, he did have Ice 2 to try and kill that Goddess, but I kind of agree with that choice. It's unfortunate that it was at the end of Kefkret Nash and he had done grinding, but the Yeti is just going to destroy himself with Love Token, and so...
Fraggle, having just died to Rexol on the floating continent, is going back at it. What's the definition of insanity?
And Mildane finds a train in a tomb, which is pretty strange. And it looks like discount Magimaster on Jack's screen.
Yeah, little brother
Magimaster at home. and Mr. Entity taking a long walk of shame down from Kefka at Narsh, since it looks like he did save before going into Kefka at Narsh, which is, of course, a good play.
I'm pretty
That
sure
means you gotta walk all the way
didn't he
back out.
beat it, or did he reset out of it?
Oh no, he reset out of the Goddess. It was Goddess at the end. Because, Future Seed. Oh, what did Mildane even fight? I saw that it was
He fought the
Madwin,
ghost train
and,
in the...
now he's getting the reward.
You even
Oh, that's
commented
right,
on
I
the
pointed it
train in
out.
the tomb.
I'm here, I'm alive.
It's 1 AM for me. What's your excuse?
I don't have a good one.
Tell you what, that is definitely worth staying awake for. This is
It
some
certainly
quality.
This is a quality race. I'm kind of happy to see it turn out this way on the week that I'm commentating instead of one of the weeks that I decide to race.
Here we go again. Rexall 2. Electric Boogaloo.
Jack killed Tritok? What was the Tritok slot?
It was number 24. Again, you commented on Discount Magic Master.
God.
Remember that
I'm
thing
just
earlier
trying to
where I
look
said,
at all
can I get
four
a substitute
screen?
commentator? That still applies.
Hey, but you know what? You said I commentated on each of them, so I'm clearly doing my job.
Oh. Fraggle finding Stooges following Rexall.
Ooh. At least you get full healed before that fight, but that's really kind of not what you want to see.
All I'm going to say is we've not seen Poltergeist yet.
Yeah, we know where Goddess is, but not Poltergeist.
We found Atma,
And
we
Jack
found
going to the
Magimaster.
Yeti. Because he saw
Ooh.
that the Yeti was Realm.
It's
so.
a murder child. And it's Ultros 1. That's not going to slow him down.
Yep. Unless you use certain abilities on Ultros 1, I'm pretty sure he just uses physical attacks. So, not a particularly
he has,
threatening fight.
Fire
So I
2
think-
and Fire 3.
Yes. Fire will cause him to ink, I believe, because his script is based on what you cast on him. But that Thunder Rod just nuking Ultros for all of his health bar.
I guess he wanted him to bzz off.
I guess so, Future. It looks like Mr. Entity taking on, I believe that's our first dragon from any of the runners.
Yep. Did anyone better than me see what Realm had as an ability? I'll say, hi Ravlin, they started with Go-Go and only Go-Go.
Yeah,
This seed is amazing!
it is quite amazing.
Oh no! Fraggle has forfeited from the race. I'm not sure whether I dare invite him onto an interview.
Yeah.
Your call, fun.
He says he's tilted, so I'm not sure if asking him questions about the seed wouldn't just make him more tilted. Which is probably... Maybe we could get some comments from him in the race chat? Or give him a few minutes to cool off, perhaps, if he's feeling particularly tilted?
Yeah. Oh, well, he's in the voice chat. Let's see what he has to say for himself. Please remember, you are on Randomania 1, and do not swear.
Why? Why? Oh, yeah. That's the reason I don't like open progression. It scales up far too quick sometimes, and
It's fine if you don't go for free checks at the start.
yeah, it is that, but when your only ability is Mimic, and you're trying to find a second character,
So, one thing that may interest you to hear, Mildane took an approach of checking free checks, but if they weren't a character, he didn't take the reward. And it seems to be working out pretty well for him so far.
Well, that's a hell of a lot better than my plan of checking my little route where I'd mapped out earlier today. It was just, sadly, by the end of it, there was one character and everything else was about level 18 to 25. And then every boss I find.
Yeah, there were some interesting bosses in the easy spots, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, that's why I thought, ooh, floating continent, last ditch attempt. Oh, Rexall. Zinger's on, we can cheese this. We don't get to use Odin on them enough.
So, a fairly common question I think people will be asking, at least themselves tonight. Did you check Zen World of Balance?
No, mainly because I was trying to actually get money together so I could actually find some alright equipment. I usually don't check the Zen spot unless it's right at the end before I'm set to either stay in the World of Ruin or I've got a reason to go to Zen.
Well, funnily enough, I wasn't actually referring to the Man in the Woods check. Zen World of Balance weapon shop had thunder rods. Don't know, maybe something to factor into routing in the future. Just something to think about, you know.
Maybe it's generally on that continent. Really, the only time you go there is if you're looting Albrook, wanting a quick Man in the Woods check or doing Magitech. There's nothing else really much there after the Big Terror treasure chest hoard. So, for me, I usually avoid Zen unless it's clutching at straws for something.
Fair enough.
But,
I'm fairly aware that you probably don't want to be thinking about this seed for too much longer, so we'll probably let you go fairly soon. Any other comments on tonight's festivities?
well, good luck to everyone else who's in it. That just go start. Ugh.
Gonna be honest, I was saying that I would apologise, but I know that nobody would have believed me. However, I was doubled over laughing when I saw Gogo as the first character, and I'm really sorry.
No, you're not.
But it was just the perfect. I'm sat here, I haven't rolled a proper seed for a while, and then suddenly this appears on my screen.
Yeah, it's... like I say, at least with an Amaro start, you can kind of do something. Like, just put your pad down when you walk into things. But the go-go start, unless you've actually got, a character off your first check or two, it's pretty useless. Let this be a lesson to all new players. Forfeit future seeds. No go-go's.
Anything from you, Von, before we say goodbye to Mr. Fraggle?
I don't know. I think Fraggle covered it.
Alright then, well, thank you for taking part tonight, Fraggle. Sorry that you couldn't finish me, and I completely understand the frustration, so no judgment here. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, hopefully it's not as tilting.
We'll have someone else roll the seed.
I mean, you've seen the KGP flags for the coming week, right?
Not. I just know that Vamps picked them, and...
Be afraid.
Could it be any worse than the previous KGP? What we've, all just done.
Oh, they can be worse. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your night, I suppose. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Alright, bye.
Boo Jack.
So,
it looks like Jack has been trucking right along, though all of our runners, it looks like, have sort of worked out a nice little route for themselves. Mildane just finished off the Doomgaze spot, and it looks like Mr. Entity going back to that Katana Soul to get his offering.
And Jack has found character 7. All he has to do is climb the worst dungeon in the game.
Yep, but that is character 7, and then 2 more Espers, and he is ready to go. I'm not sure if he will consider his levels and offense good enough for Kefka's Tower, but it could be that he just wants to try and sort of blitz it as quickly as he can, which I don't think is necessarily a bad strategy. With tiered shops and chests, I feel like there's a low chance that you're going to find any sort of game-changing gear later on, once you've checked a lot of the chests.
I think Jack would try and walk into Kefka's Tower at level 12 if he had his requirements.
Well, I'm certainly not as familiar with all of the racers in this community, so I'm sure you're right. Based on the way that he's played this seed so far, I would certainly believe it.
Well,
not that that's a bad thing, it's paid off for him.
Katana Soul down for Mr. Entity. And let's see what awaits at the top of the Fanatics Tower. Well, a Valiant Knife, that's a good start.
Yep, that is certainly something you want to see.
Especially if you know where the offering is.
Yep, and you have characters that can definitely equip it already in your party, so that's always a nice side benefit.
Mildane heading into Owser's mansion, and Mr. Entity looks like he's heading the same way. Or not, Mr. Entity's going for a dragon. Okay.
Someone's already done Owser's, maybe Mr. Entity did it.
Let me consult the magical sheet here. Jack did it. There is a force shield there behind a piranha's fight.
Ooh, that's a bit unfortunate.
Meanwhile, tunnel armor at the top of the Fanatics Tower. That's a pretty good find. And a pretty dead find.
Yep, well, when you have Thunder Rods in your inventory, tunnel armor is a free fight. Looks like Mr. Entity taking the... Oh, yeah, the dragon, the Opera Dragon. That's right. You said he was going for a dragon, but for some reason I didn't process that he was from the Opera House.
It's okay, Vaughn. We still love you.
I mean, you keep asking for a replacement commentator, are you sure?
Yes, kidding, because I don't have one yet. I have to love you when there's nobody to step in, don't I?
Wow, thanks a lot, Future.
Even your last choice is your best choice when you only have one. Realm has throw. That's not bad.
Yep, and that's actually not, especially with Gogo, who can mimic the throw without using another item. That is a pretty good pickup. I did see that Mr. Entity was throwing, but I had not caught where it came from because I only saw Gogo throwing.
Presumably it came from someone's hands.
You're probably right, Future. I'm sure it must have.
I love that I have the ability to just stop a conversation dead. It's truly a skill, ladies and gents.
I would almost call it a superpower. Almost.
At least someone thinks I'm super.
What do they call it when a villain has a superpower?
At least someone thinks I'm super.
Alright, well, Jack just needs 2 more Espers. That looks like a Felt Cave check to me, which is not a bad place to go, since you can see what you're going to get ahead of time.
I'm sorry, you cannot say this isn't a bad place to go with a straight face after this week.
Hey man, I still checked it early and it worked out for me. As badly as it worked out for a lot of other people, I killed the goddess in 1 try. You were there.
Physically, maybe.
Looks like
In
Jack's
spirit,
still
no.
looking for the Lobo monster in a box. Not very threatening, but not really what you want to see.
I don't know. I always like to see a cute pupper.
I guess that is nice, and as far as easy monster in a box fights go, that's basically as easy as you can get.
Plus, we haven't seen Shadow yet, so no Interceptor. No Best Doggo.
It's true, you gotta get your doggo where you can.
Well, no character in the Cave on the Belt, so we know it's an Esper. That'll be good for Jack.
Yep, and Mr. Entity, it looks like also heading into Owzer's Mansion, finding a Falchion there in the pot. Who knew Owzer smoked pot?
Not touching that one. Jack bumps into the Ifrit and Shiva fight.
This is another time where it might be nice to have Ice 2, as long as you can get through Ifrit's health bar before he does something like that.
Nullify.
That is nice. Some nice luck that the single target Flare Star went to the person that could avoid it.
Yep, never forget that Flare Star is a fire elemental. If you block that, you aren't taking any damage. Which is good, because if you can't block it, you are taking a lot of damage.
Yep, Flare Star is a unique spell in the way it's calculated, and it is really, really powerful if it hits a single target as a result.
So, I've seen Phantom, Fenrir, Golem, and Odin, but no sign of Siren or Raiden, other potential Espers for the final battle so far. But they've got the Carnage protection, and that's probably the most important thing. Jack is going to try and search the skies. That's not going to get him the Esper he wants, but I think he'll be happy with the reward.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad thing to check in a lot of scenarios, because if it's something you really don't want to fight, you just reset out, and you didn't really take much time checking this spot. Realm just kind of throwing whatever from the inventory, helping Jack clear it out.
Yep, angry inventory management in effect. Haven't seen anybody take a healer rod to the back of the head yet, though. I'm sure the time will come.
I mean, what else are you going to do with a heal rod?
So, if you're watching this and you're enjoying the race, feel free to follow our runners, and if you're weird, follow our commentary and restream and tracker team. Me for more World Collide stuff. Von here for his fantastic renditions of Let It Go. And Franklin for some strange and creative seed. And if you want to learn more about Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, hop onto our Discord server where you will find all of the information you could ever want to know.
It looks like Mildane getting through the Piranhas fight. It looks like that was a pretty long variation on the fight. That fight can be anywhere from, I think, 5 seconds to 60 seconds.
It's much more than that. I believe it's
Is
between 10 and 90 in theory. But I will swear until the day I die that I have had 5-minute Piranha fights.
It certainly feels like it sometimes.
Alright, what does the little girl have for Jack? A Valiant Knife. I would be tempted to take that.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, in a seed like this, I would be tempted as well, but also you have to fight Mr. Fun Baba. Yeah, it looks like
You
Jack
do, but the
deciding,
levels are nice.
nope, I'm good on that.
The levels would be quite nice when the bosses are at least level 48-ish. That's a lot of XP.
It is true. Though I think at this point, Jack perhaps isn't quite as concerned about the scaling. Is the final boss fight scaled in this?
Yes,
I feel like it
is.
isn't. But I'm always better to check. Ooh, okay, never mind. I hope Jack knows that. Especially with scaled abilities of any kind, the final battle can become much scarier when it is scaled.
Even scale element is going to make it interesting.
I think when I first started playing prior to the ability changes, the scaling on the final boss wasn't quite as scary. In fact, if the scaling was lower, sometimes it meant they had less health, just because a lot of the final bosses are already like level 70 when they're unscaled. But it, with the ability changes, it really does make them very threatening. because a lot of their base stats are quite high, and so having them use those other abilities that maybe they were not intended to use can be pretty scary. It looks like Mildane taking a nap at Doma in the World of Ruin. Gonna dream a little bit. Ooh, that's not the monster in the box encounter that Jack really wants to see, but he does have Fenrir available, so that's always nice.
If it wasn't a level 48 Gigantos, it wouldn't be so bad, but this, if you can get through it, is going to provide a buttload of XP.
Yes, that is certainly true, and with Image on 2 characters, he's definitely increased his chances of surviving. Fortunately, it does not look like the Gigantos wants to cooperate with that strategy. Mildane finding the first boss in his dream is Mr. Chupon, which is everyone's favorite boss, I'm sure.
See, here's where some interesting strategies come into play. Gigantos only using physical attacks means you can vanish your party and have no issues whatsoever.
Yeah, while Image will also make your character avoid physical attacks, it does have a chance of being removed every time they dodge an attack using it, so it is not permanent. Vanish can only be removed by casting a spell on the target. But the fact that Jack has identified that Vanish is the play here is really good, because it means now he can just vanish his characters after getting them up, and there you go. And it looks like Mr. Entity is deciding to fight a dragon here. I don't think it's a bad play with Umara having a snow muffler and you having the paladin shield. You have some elemental resistances built in. And that dragon will provide some nice experience and magic points, no matter what level it's at, just because of the way the experience scaling works. And Jack now finding the train in the tomb. And Red Dragon using a 4-target Flare Star, which is much less scary than a single-target Flare Star.
Yep, we have a re-dead Ghost Train for Jack. An interior of a Ghost Train for Mildane.
Yep, and the Red Dragon goes down for Mr. Entity, so that will be a nice boon for him. And potentially a very good weapon from the reward. I don't think Mr. Entity has any jumpers, unfortunately, for that Dragon Horn, but maybe he will find a Lance later and decide that he wants to have a jumper.
And Wolfon goes back to full robot mode. Let's see, Jack, predictably at requirements, is heading to Albrook, probably for a little bit of shopping, and then he'll be heading off to the tower most likely. Enti grabbing that Sabin from the top of a mountain. And...
Robot.
Yes, you're a robot. Beep boop. And Mildane chasing down Locke in Cyan Street. If this wasn't an open world seed, that would be pretty handy.
Am I still a robot?
You are fixed. You are human again. You're a real boy.
Yay!
Good job, Pinocchio. So I don't know if you caught Locke in Cyan's dream.
I did not. Thank you.
Should be a very nice pickup at the end of it for Mildane. Again, Locke doesn't
Yep,
have the
Locke
best
does.
stats, but he has good equipment pools.
Yes, he does have access to a lot of the very good weapons, including the legendary swords, Valiant Knife, really the things that matter.
Mr. Entity is going to check the collapsing house. After
I'm
a quick
curious
heal.
to see, yeah, since it's free and quick. I'm curious to see if he's going to open a lot of chests here.
Edgar.
It's Edgar.
That's not bad.
Not a bad find.
Cranes for Mildane on
Edgar.
the Dome of Throne. As I think
That's
a
a
lot of
pretty easy
people have...
encounter.
You say that, but a lot of people have experienced recently that cranes with scaled element can be pretty nasty.
This is true. Unless you get them down pretty quick, they can be really quite threatening.
And as
Thankfully, their health
predicted-
is a bit lower.
As predicted, Jet going straight for the tower. And another good
Well, I
drop
think it's
from a
really
chest
not-
there. Mr. Entity picking up a red cap.
Oh, well, pretty worthwhile to go to the collapsing house there, especially with Edgar as the reward. And it looks like Mildane making his way through the crane fight. Got rid of one already.
It is very good to see, after concerns had been raised, that tiered chests and tiered shops isn't having too much of a negative impact. People are finding their way through it, which is good. It's what we like to see.
Yep, and it could be one of those things where maybe the tiers need to be shuffled around a little bit, but the randomizer still is in development, so
Yeah,
those
and
things will just have to wait and see a little longer, I think.
they are fairly new flags, and I know Atma does spend a lot of time looking into seeds like this and seeing how things work, so maybe this will provide some good feedback data for him.
Yeah, definitely. I've always really appreciated that Atma takes the time to respond to a lot of the suggestions and feedback about the randomizer.
Yeah, he's good people.
So Mildane finding the lock there, checking for natural magic, which I think a lot of people have learned to do after the last couple of seeds have had some surprise natural magic that's very powerful, in the KGP specifically.
And Ifrit as the last check in Cyan's Dream now. Let's see. Nothing good. That is a terrible Esper. A get future in trouble flag? No, that's just when I roll a seed. I can make every
I'm really
flag into a
curious.
get me in trouble flag, don't you worry.
I'm really curious to see what bosses Jack is going to encounter up here. We haven't seen a lot of really scary anything yet.
We've seen Magimaster
Except for the
and
goddess.
Goddess and Atma. I think we've
well,
seen
okay,
some pretty
but
nasty
we haven't
stuff.
seen Spicy Chicken. We haven't seen Spicy Chicken. We haven't seen Doom.
Not seen
What
Inferno,
else do
who
you
can
know
be
in the fight?
nasty.
Yep, Inferno can definitely be nasty.
We've not seen Welk
So
in a
there's a
scene
lot-
where some people are using Yetis.
Yep, well, I think personally, Welk can be really threatening on Scaled Elemental, especially if you hit his shell at all, just because all of a sudden he uses like a much more powerful spell than you're expecting and just does a ton of damage.
So a Dirt Dargon is the first choice encounter for Jack in the tower.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like Gravelin said, rando gonna rando, as I've seen lots of people say, as it pertains to randomizers. Sometimes it's just like this. I've rolled seeds like this myself. Thankfully, I think I've only rolled them for Future and Zelfer and myself. Alright, and Jack coming upon the Inferno spot, and it is a group of tentacles. Everyone's favorite fight to see, I'm sure. That's sarcasm. if you can't tell. And it looks like Mildane taking some time to head up to the top of Narsh and see what's up there.
Well, an interesting strat on those tentacles, opening with an X zone to take one of them out.
Yep, I always try to remember that bottom left friend is not immune to instant death. It is very helpful when you're fighting this fight with a reduced party.
I believe there are 2 that aren't immune to instant death, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was just the one, but it's very possible.
I may be mistaking my battles or my games, to be honest.
Looks like Gao actually has a pretty good skill set this game, or this seed, with lore and health. Not bad.
Well, I mean, if it isn't
Get
slot and slot, it's an improvement.
Ain't that the truth?
Which we have seen twice in the last 2 months.
Yep.
Actually, I
It looks
believe
like
we've seen
Mr.
twice in the
Entity,
last month.
Yeah, I don't think the last double slot Gao was really that long ago.
It was week
It could be
3 of
wrong,
the
though.
KGP. And we're on week 6 now, so yeah. Pretty brutal.
But it looks like Mr. Entity taking his turn through the Imperial camp, finding a red jacket, not a bad reward for that chest. Mildane going up to Kefka Narsh, but I believe he's got enough characters that he can just bring 4 people to this fight.
Though when he gets to the bottom, he may not want to be in this fight. This was the goddess.
Yeah, I think he's at a point where he could probably fight the goddess, but he may not want to. It's not something anyone's super excited about just because there's so many ways that fight can go south.
And the thing is, you've got so many checks open to you in an open world seed. Do you really want one of the slowest fights in the game?
Yeah. But it looks like he's going to give it a shot. We're seeing some more slots.
Mildane using
it's
slot.
H-bomb. That's not a bad roll.
He's a brave
It's,
man.
I guess he was the one that had us all playing slots this last week in the KGP. So.
Oh, there's the love token. Hang on, when did Strago appear? What did I miss?
I think he was in Zozo.
He was Mount Colts, okay.
Oh, Mount Colts. That's right. I don't know why I thought Zozo.
I dread to think how long ago I missed that, and ooh, bye sellers.
I don't think it was super long ago.
Jack is back to his normal luck with ice dragons. 2 of his characters frozen.
Yeah, it looks like Sabin is jumping, which is a good choice if he can use a good weapon. And I think Sabin was one of the characters that he wasn't using in his primary party, so it's a bit unfortunate that he's the only one that didn't get frozen. It looks like Mildane is actually not having too bad of a time with the goddess so far, but unfortunately Overcast is up, so if any of those characters die or that timer runs out, it will be game over. Mildane's still using the slots.
Yep.
And it looks like Jack getting through that Ice Dragon, even though 2 characters got frozen.
Yep, Gao's taking a little bit of a lie down, as is his right, but Terra survived.
Yep. Gao just taking a nap.
Okay, so overlaying URLs of Final Fantasy VI, title screen and restart says Final Fantasy III. So, here we go. Final Fantasy VI was released in the US as Final Fantasy III because they didn't get Final Fantasy II or V. or 3 itself, and American numbering systems are weird. Because for this randomizer we use the US ROM of Final Fantasy VI, it's FF3. Hopefully that clears that up.
Yep.
If it doesn't, blame Square.
Yep. The first time that we knew that we'd missed a bunch of Final Fantasy games in North America was when they released Final Fantasy VII, and then everyone was like, wait, what?
But the last one was Final Fantasy III.
Yep, exactly. And then, in the PlayStation era, we got Anthology, which was, I believe, the first time that we got 6 properly labeled as Final Fantasy VI rather than Final Fantasy III.
On the plus side, at least you got Final Fantasies in the US. We didn't have quite as much luck in the PAL region.
Yep, I actually owned Final Fantasy III on cartridge and Mystic Quest on cartridge as well when I was a kid.
Oh, nobody counts Mystic Quest. That is an awful game.
Hey, it may have been awful, but it was like one of my first RPGs, so...
Mystic Quest is the first Final Fantasy we got in the PAL region. Just think about that.
That is a bit sad. Ooh, it looks like Mildane is going to go down to the Overcast.
Yep.
That is unfortunate. And Jack now at the Guardian spot, just making his way through Kefka's Tower at a nice clip. And that's Air Force, which is a thing you definitely don't mind seeing, especially when you have Thunder Rods.
So, Mr. Anstey back down with the Vargas.
And it looks like Mildane taking that walk of shame down from the World of Balance Narsh. And the Air Force goes down, predictably, in pretty rapid time.
Yeah, Air Force, not a massive problem when you have a decent way of dealing damage.
Ain't that the truth? Especially if you have lightning spells, he goes down pretty quick. He can be threatening on scaled abilities, just because there are 3 targets attacking in that fight, but... And Mildane finds the Atma. I'm not sure if Mildane saw this previously and is coming back, but it looks like he's much better equipped if he is coming back.
So, shall I have some fun, Von?
Ooh, Jack went down.
Imp, if you want a reason to ban me, try this one on for size. Hey chat, what's the best Final Fantasy? And now we wait. I believe my work here is done. Yes, Franklin, the Chrono Trigger answer. I love you.
Okay, it looks like, I think that Jack actually went down to this Inferno fight the first time, and is coming back, taking advantage of I think that's a natural big guard lore on Gao, which is actually a pretty nice find.
It's also barely enough to protect Terra. She is taking a lot of damage.
Yep, that's where the health comes in. Now Terra is also dealing a lot of damage. I think that's a Valiant Knife on Terra. And it looks like Inferno goes down this time for Jack. And it looks like Mildane taking a walk through World of Ruin Narsh now. Potentially going to go up to the Tritox spot to see what the Yeti is, and to see if that's an Esper. It looks like Mr. Entity taking the shot at the Guardian.
Yep, if you can get through it quickly, Guardian is not much of an issue.
Yep, if you can get through Guardian prior to the alternate battle programs and things coming out, it's a pretty easy time, I think. And Jack kind of running into the Welk here, which I think is a bit of a meme boss at this point in the game. There's no way that they have any real problem with this, but let's see if Jack can get through it before the Gru. And it looks like he succeeded.
Yep, getting through it. Not far away from TEF final boss now.
Yep.
Which, if he doesn't know it's scaled, this is going to be a very interesting 10 minutes.
I mean, it means that they might... I think they end up a little bit lower level than they would be in vanilla.
But they have the scaled
actually,
abilities because they're scaled.
Yeah, but they have... Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. If the requirements were just a little bit lower, I think maybe the scaled final boss wouldn't be quite as scary, but I think you're in this stage where it's going to be
they
quite
can have
scary.
Ultima.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say. They can have Ultima.
Yep. That's concerning. And it looks like the senior behemoth also showing that he also is scary with scaled abilities. Casting a unprovoked pearl.
By the way, welcome to everybody in chat tonight, and thank you very much for spending your Saturday morning or afternoon or evening with us, wherever you may be. If you are enjoying this race, please make sure to follow our runners and maybe even our stream team if you're that way inclined, and hop on our Discord if you want to learn more about the randomizer. And in terms of Worlds Collide on Randomania, we are expecting to have another 3 restreams next week, one on Wednesday, one on Friday, and one on Saturday, all at 7 PM Eastern Time. The first 2 will be for Week 7 of the Kefka Grand Prix, our little tournament that we've got going on right now, and Saturday will be another of these weekly races, so come along and check them out. This would be a lot easier if I could type, but I don't think signals are getting from my brain to my hands anymore.
Thankfully, it looks like our runners are making nice time, so it won't be the restreams this week for the KGP.
Yeah, we might actually get to watch the end of some runs this time, as opposed to Wednesday.
Yeah, I felt real bad, though I did have a lot of respect for the runners for really trying to pull through it and putting in that effort, especially in a week like this where there's a lot of forfeits. That's actually really beneficial for them because they will still get points.
Yeah, and I mean, I would have loved to have stuck it out and streamed for a little bit longer, but unfortunately, the 3-hour window for me closes at 3 AM, and it's getting a little hard to see by that point.
Yep, and that's totally understandable. It does look like Mr. Entity taking on Magimaster with Berserk, it looks like to me.
Yep, Berserk strat's definitely the way to go with Magimaster. You Berserk him, he is a harmless little puppy dog.
Yep, you just hit him with whatever you want.
So, we are not allowed legally to advise you where to find a copy of the ROM for Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy III, the US version. However, I have great faith that you will be able to achieve that on your own via use of popular search engines, perhaps. And I think that's as much as I can say without getting into trouble.
Yep. It is important to note that we use the version 1.0.
However, all of the information for that can be found on our Discord, somewhere.
Yep. And I believe there's a wiki now accessible from Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, the site, which also has some information about the randomizer. I personally haven't clicked through it yet, but it seems real nice.
I just so happen to have the link handy.
That is a new addition, and it is really awesome. And I think it would definitely help people that have questions about the randomizer and what it changes.
And I'm supposed to have done some work on that 2 weeks ago and haven't gotten around to it yet.
Oh. I get it now, Kurlon.
That was a joke? It wasn't a pun, so I missed it, clearly.
If I want to get into it properly, where can I find a copy of First Fantasy? Like, because it's a prequel to Final Fantasy.
So, Jack is on the final battle.
Yeah. And I'm curious if we'll see an Odin or something. Looks like taking advantage of Vanish here, which I don't think is a bad play. There are a lot of physical attacks that come out of this phase.
It's worth remembering that multi-summon is not turned on, so you can only use each of the Espers once. And it looks like we're going with Exo to try and get rid of the arm. Finally,
yeah, that's not surprising to see the X-Zone, just because you can cast it as many times as you want. That was an unfortunate number of times to have to cast it, but sometimes that happens.
We may have
the most reliable way.
We may have slipped and not noticed, but Mr. Entity is in go mode. He has his requirements.
Oh, he was sneaking up on him right there, so it is good to see that he got the rest of it. And it looks like Mildane also fighting the Discount Magimaster. So he's going to find, I think that's Tritok, and I think it's Realm behind there, so. It looks like Jack making it through the first phase pretty handily.
Yep,
on pace for a pretty good time here. Yep.
Considering this flag set, yes, a very good time.
Looks like Mr. Entity doing some shopping in Thamasa. Likely before heading to Kefka's Tower for the final battle. Or not?
Probably soon. You might want another couple of levels, maybe.
42. Well, I guess it depends on what gear he's got and what spells, but it does look like perhaps going to fight a dragon here. I just look over at Jack's screen and he's dealing 9,000 damage to Tiger. The Tiger, I think, being a really good target to take care of first, since he does not have a counter attack, but he does use some pretty powerful attacks. Speaking of, fortunately, Jack's ended up with some good elemental absorbs and resists, so...
I personally am still waiting for him to get Big Frozen.
I'm a bit surprised to see Mr. Entity doing Figaro Basement here. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, but it will give you levels, and it's not highest level scaling, so that's not going to hurt you. But
it is possible Enti doesn't know he's in go mode.
It is possible. I've certainly mistracked things in races before.
Because, yeah, you've got to think, in a scaled final battle scenario, you really don't want to be taking many more fights. Yeah, oh, there's the spicy chicken!
Well, if anyone in the chat was wondering where the obligatory poltergeist was, turns out the answer is
dining on hot wings tonight.
Basement.
I don't know if there's a Fun Fantasy
he's
Mystic
got the
Quest.
levels for it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a Mystic Quest Rando. I will look that up for you.
I feel like there's one for most of the old school Final Fantasies.
Apparently, there is. It is called.
That's actually kind of interesting.
It is called A Terrible Secret.
Go figure. Did Poltergeist just single target S cross?
Possibly.
That is gross. Thankfully, it looks like Sabin was resistant or resistant to that element or something, but that was gross.
Ah, interesting. So, a terrible secret, the Mystic Quest randomizer is from the same person who made Beyond Chaos, apparently. Along with Breath of Fire 2 Pain Song, Final Fantasy Tactics Rumble Chaos Crashdown, Chrono Trigger Eternal Nightmare, Super Mario RPG Gentle Beauty and Raw Power, and Final Fantasy V Grand Cross randomizer. So, someone's been a busy person.
Wow. It looks like Jack is just sort of tearing through Phase 3 here, which isn't incredibly surprising. With Throw, you've got good options to take care of the girl pretty rapidly.
Yeah, and on goes Fenrir, ready for that calmness.
Yep. And at a certain point in this fight, Sleep won't use any physical attacks at all. I'm not even sure if he will at the beginning of the fight.
Sleep's
frankly.
dead. Sleep is
Yeah,
done.
well, Sleep is dead. Goodbye, Sleep. It's, again, not that surprising. With Throw, you have a lot of options to deal high damage that ignores defense, so... Looks like the Spicy Chicken doing his best to prove why he's called Spicy Chicken.
I thought he was called Spicy Chicken because he looks like he's got a lot of chili powder on him.
I guess that's fair, but I always thought the particular reason he was called Spicy Chicken by the fans because it's very spicy when he shows up.
Now, hold on a minute. Spicy Chicken does not have fans.
I meant the fans of the randomizer that refer to him as Spicy Chicken.
Clarification is important because Spicy Chicken is a butt.
It's true. Wow. Jack, it looks like completely bypassing Fallen One, heading straight into a Goner charge. That Terra has Image still and a Valiant Knife. So it looks like the play is just deal as much damage as possible.
And Jack is done with a time of 1 hour, 47 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah, that is quite a respectable time, especially with the start of this one that most of our runners experienced. That is definitely a GG for Jack. And Mildane, or Mr. Entity, excuse me, clearing out that Spicy Chicken. It was a bit of a fight, but...
It was a spicy fight. And Mildane, meanwhile, picking up Murder Child.
And it looks like we are getting Jack in for an interview.
Speak of the devil and he shall appear. Hey Jack, how'd you like my seed?
It was alright. The start was a little bad for me because I kept going to places that exploded me, but once I got Ice 2 and I could level up off of all those sea flowers in the burning house, it was pretty easy.
So, you did a lot of free checks before gaining any levels. You got any regrets about that?
Nope.
Okay, would you like to tell the people at home why you did that?
Because higher level enemies give more experience. Point.
If you can beat them, sure. Weren't you
Yeah,
at all worried?
I just had to do one fight to get Ice 2 and then I was fine.
Okay. Any highlights?
A Valiant Knife. And a Valiant Knife is a really strong weapon.
Yep. Any highlights, lowlights from the run?
I don't know. Nothing really stands out.
Were you at all scared when you saw that you started Just Go Go?
No, it's open world. And
Fair
Best
enough.
Girl was just sitting there at Gao's house.
Fair enough. Well, any closing comments from you tonight?
I win. I am the risk champ. Hooray for everything!
Alright, well, thank you very much for taking part. GG on the win, and we'll see you next week.
Let's go, Bruins!
Curl on
Alright,
TV,
well.
never ever say toss the monster. That is the only thing getting me through this stream. That and enjoyment for
Yep,
the pain
we
I'm
need-
putting people through.
We need Future as caffeinated as possible, so I'm not here by myself.
Yeah, someone's got to be entertaining.
Looks like Mr. Entity taking some time to shop in Figaro Castle. I'm really kind of hoping that he goes to Kefka's Tower now.
Yeah, me
Just because
too.
it does look like he's... It looks like he's mostly ready.
Mildane, of course, not far behind. Only 2 Espers to go until go mode.
Yep, it looks like, unfortunately, he did get an extra character, but that's not always the worst, especially for Kefka's Tower. Having those extra bodies can be helpful, especially if you find them later on, because they end up averaged out to a pretty decent level.
Yes, we call them meat shields.
Yeah. That's gotta be, it feels bad for Mildane.
And
Genji
nope,
Helmet.
NT is going for the ancient castle.
I'm a bit confused, but I mean, perhaps he just is not sure, or he's concerned that he might not have the levels for Kefka, or is looking for some additional gear. I generally am a bit of a risk taker, where I'll go at pretty low levels a lot of the time. Looks like Mildane found some Aura Lances in the shop.
Yeah, not terrible. Better if you have a jumper. Not sure how well an Aura Lance would work with a cardigan, though.
Yep, definitely better with a jumper. Unfortunately, I don't think Mildane found Sabin, who has natural jump.
No, not yet. I mean, there's potential for him to be found if Mildane
That
makes
is
some
sort
bad
of the
choices.
downside. Yep, that is a bit of the downside with open world seeds. Is it's very easy when you're very close to go mode to just keep picking the wrong check, because there's so many checks available to you.
See, at this point, you only need 2 Espers. You know where I'd be going? Magitech Factory.
Auction house.
No.
No, Magitech Bat Factory I think is a much better play, especially since you can just do Ifrit and Shiva spot and number 24 spot and warp out.
And neither of those
Um,
can be characters.
I think that's correct. Yep, neither of them can be characters, so you're either getting a good item from the good item pool, which is not necessarily a bad thing in this seed, or you're getting the espers that you need. And they're also just quick in general. If you aren't attached to the idea of looting Magitech, you can get through it very quickly. Oh, Mr. Entity picking up Siren, which is not your favorite thing to see, but if there's no mute in the seed, it can be very helpful in the final battle against Magic, since that gets rid of any chance he might have to cast Life 3, which you really don't want to see in Phase 2. Looks like Mildane heading for the Veld Cave here. There's going to be an Esper, so he sees that it's something he wants, and Mr. Entity taking the time to fight the Skull Dragon here. Mildane finding this Ifrit and Shiva fight. I think he's definitely at a level where he'll have no problem dealing with it, though. It looks like Mr. Entity getting through that Skull Dragon with ease.
Yep, doesn't look like it posed too much of a problem for him.
And it looks like Mildane getting those Ice 2s on Ifrit. I will not be surprised if we see that fight end shortly.
I do feel like Mr. Anstey might be channeling his inner Franklin and trying to 100% the seed just to give us the information.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a bad strategy here, especially since doing this particular chain gets you a dragon, a boss fight from Figaro Basement, which is going to give you experience, and then Espers, which can potentially give you useful spells. Yeah, Krillon, the reason we talk about character levels for Kefka's Tower is because you do generally need to be at a certain level just to survive the base damage of some of the attacks and things from Kefka's Tower, the final phase, or the final boss especially.
I mean, not even necessarily certain levels, just certain HP amounts and defense stats.
Yeah,
really.
That's
With
really
good enough
more
equipment, you can shave 10 to 15 levels off the ideal easily.
Yeah, especially if you are in a seed where, for example, lots of people can wear snow mufflers. It can be really easy to get your physical defense really high, which is what is kind of threatening about the first two phases. There's a lot of ways to stop some of the more threatening spells, but there is very little you can do to get them to stop punching you. Mr. Entity taking a run through World of Ruin South Figaro. I think he already looted these chests, so potentially just coming here to do some shopping.
Or at least checking out the options.
It looks like maybe trying to grab stuff to throw, or maybe going to go to the Colosseum to try and find gear.
And now Fanatic's Tower for Mr. White.
Oh, it looks like Mildane found his last Esper at Figaro Throne.
So didn't Trifle encounter anything good? We don't know. I
Yep,
don't
no one
believe
finished it.
Fraggle made it through Rexol and the Stooges to find any of the rewards. Obviously, Rexol having no zinger. Also, did anyone actually make it through Magimaster? Because Magimaster did have that Ultros counterattack and he wasn't berserk.
I think that Mr. Entity did, or maybe it was. I think it was Mr. Entity. I know at least one of the runners has made it through Magimaster. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yes, that's true, Franklin. Mr. Entity used Berserk on Magimaster.
And yep, what Ravelin has put in chat is very accurate. It is important if, like Fraggle tonight, you're not having fun, definitely stop. It's not worth causing yourself grief and stress. Not for something as silly as a game.
Yep. I tend to race pretty seriously, but if I'm not having fun, then what's the point? We are all playing a video game.
And it's why we'll never judge anyone here for forfeiting, because it's understandable. We've all done it at some point.
Yep. And it looks like Mr. Entity going up Fanatic's Tower.
Finding a gold Dargon. Shouldn't be too much of an issue, you'd think, at this point.
Yep, and it looks like Mildane fighting a Storm Dragon. That's
Opera House.
Dragon.
You can tell from the background. It's the only dragon fight where
Yep.
you have an audience.
Very exciting.
They're all there to watch that mad chaos.
They heard a rumor that back before the world was destroyed, there once was a kidnapping right on stage.
Yes, indeed. However, stories are a little confused about who did the kidnapping. Some say it was Setzer, some say it was an imp. Some say it was a soldier, who knows?
Who really could know? It looks like both those dragon fights going fairly okay. The murder child took a small nap, but she's back now. And the storm dragon goes down.
Not you, imp, the in-game imp. Can't take you anywhere, can we?
Haldane picking up a flame shield for his efforts.
And Gold Dragon being surprisingly resilient here. He doesn't normally have that high a health.
Yeah, and there's the Bolt 3.
Oh, there he goes.
Gold Dragon I don't think has particularly high base stats, so... But Bolt 3 is still going to do some damage.
See,
Illumina, though.
You say the Gold Dragon is level 57 here. In Vanilla, it's level 62, so... Still had less HP than Vanilla.
That Illumina is a nice find, especially considering you already have Terra.
Yep, it's very tasty. Illumina and a Paladin shield. Terra's not getting hit. And if she does, that Behemoth suit means she's not getting hit very hard.
Yep, wow, that defense is actually pretty close to max.
Yep. She is a powerhouse now. Mildane has go
Certainly,
mode.
Especially... Yeah, Mildane just got there. Just recently, it looks like Mildane doing some shopping in preparation, hopefully for Kefka's Tower.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if he's picking up some of those elixirs we noticed earlier. Or maybe some decent throwables.
Yep, I think Mildane is using Murder Child. Which, in this seed, is not a bad play, since, throw is pretty universally useful.
Especially if you're picking up the Elemental Scrolls, which I believe use the throw as magic power. Yeah.
Yes, that is
that
correct.
Would hurt.
And so that... Yep. The other thing you get to take advantage of is the fact that a lot of the more quote-unquote legendary weapons have max attack power, so when you're ignoring defense, it doesn't really matter what your personal vigor stat is.
And speaking of magic power, here's a boss that has none for Mr. Entity.
Yep, this would be pretty straightforward knowing bolt spells. I wonder if Mildane's just been holding on to a lot of this for the whole game, and this is just the big sell down before heading to Kefka's Tower. Oh, it looks like wants to buy some of those red jackets. Not a bad play.
Oh, down he goes.
Yep, and now Mr. Entity fighting the stairs boss for the second time.
Mildane doing something you really don't see very often in races, and stopping at an inn.
That is interesting.
That's a play. I mean, you'd say it's cheaper than sleeping bags or a tent.
And I guess it's probably faster if you are already out and about in the World of Ruin. If you're in the World of Balance, you can just move to the World of Ruin and go to Narshe to use the bucket, and then move on to Kefka's Tower. But if you're already out and about, next to a town, the inn is maybe your best choice. Especially if you were already planning a shopping trip there.
Speaking of shopping, hopefully Mildane is done and is tower bound. Let's find out.
Yep, I would guess so, but he may head to another shop because I'm not sure if that item shop had the best selection of actual items.
Oh, here we go to... Oh, it was calling an item shop that had the elixirs. Maybe Mildane's remembering that? It was this shop.
Well, he did get a lot of money, so he would be prepared to buy many elixirs.
Oh, yeah.
That is pretty valuable. Elixirs, especially if you have a lot of people casting magic, can take care of your HP and your MP. Looks like Mr. Entity on the same continent as Kefka's Tower, so perhaps getting ready to head into Kefka's Tower now.
Yeah, we're getting closer. Mildane is...
Grinding?
refusing to skip leg day. Needs to remember to take off the... No, he doesn't have a Moogle John. He's just getting very unlucky then.
That is some bad luck.
Oh, that's not a fight you want to see.
Ooh, yeah.
As fights go, that one's pretty nasty.
Hopefully, Mildane will be able to finish the enemies here off quickly, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, unfortunately.
I wish I knew what he was grinding for. He's grinding for a reset, apparently. So, what about this fight is particularly bad? Just those enemies have some extremely nasty attacks.
Yeah, roulette that you saw there with the cursor moving around will kill whoever it lands on. Dark Force actually has some pretty scary... Yes, as is said in the chat, they have throw-based abilities, which is very powerful, especially when the enemy uses them. And then they...
News just in, Mildane is going for the tower!
Yay!
I think... Oh, no. Go-Go being left on the airship, maybe. Not the Yeti. Interesting.
Yes, Dark Force can use a lot of the lore abilities, and some of them are very annoying.
However, he can use those in vanilla. This is scaled element, and we've all seen a blowfish turn into an Ultima.
Yeah, that's the threat in scaled abilities, is at the scaling that all our runners are at right now, Dark Force has access to some very scary abilities.
Yeah, so Ultima can happen, Grand Train. It's pretty nasty.
Those are just... There's even scarier things that can really come out. Yes, single target Ultima is a thing.
Single target Ultima would be
the bosses...
Nah, single target Ultima wouldn't be any worse than a multi-target Ultima. It doesn't split damage.
I guess that's true. But it is kind of annoying to have to watch that animation just for one thing to die.
Oh yeah, it would still hurt, but it's no worse than a multi-target rally. In fact, it's probably better on account of it only hitting one thing. And NT is finally in the tower as well. Glorious day.
Hey! Alright, everyone's in the tower. Or done with it at this point. And I think that based on what we've seen from these runners, they will be well equipped to get through here, through Kefka's Tower. Just hope that they put the right characters in the right parties here to have a nice spread of different types of damage.
those who have forgotten, by the way, the boss progression involves Tentacles at the Inferno spot, Air Force at the Guardian spot, the good old Senor Behemoth, the Goddess statue, Welk at the Doom statue, and Inferno at the Fire Chicken statue. Also known as the Spicy Chicken, Hot Wings, whatever you want to call him. So it's not a free pass through the tower, not quite.
Yep, and it will matter which characters are on which route, because if one of your weaker parties ends up facing off against something like Inferno, it can definitely be rough, especially with the scaling as high as it is at this point. I didn't see anything too crazy when Jack was fighting Kefka, especially because he got through the last couple of phases very quickly. So I am curious to see if Mildane or Mr. Entity see some more threatening abilities from the final boss, just because I think I'm not sure that their offense is quite as high as Jack's was when he came here to Kefka's Tower.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some spice potential in there.
I know in my personal experiences playing scaled final battles with scaled abilities on, I got Ultimas, and that's quite terrifying.
Yeah, ultimately, that's going to hurt. You like what I did there?
I do, Future, I do.
Yay, approval.
Begrudging approval.
Wait, begrudging?
Yes,
Hang on a minute.
Final boss. That does mean that the final boss will end up with less HP, but because the scaled abilities is on, they can use some really scary abilities, but it is really close to their original. So Fusoya, the characters or the runners need at least 7 characters and 10 espers to enter Final Kefka, but if they have more than that, there's nothing against that. So in Mildane's case, he just found an 8th character before he found his 10th esper.
However, you do not have to take all of those characters in. You
Yes.
only have to take 3 characters into the tower. If you want to do that, you're more than welcome to. It's suicide, but you know.
Yeah, we don't require you to bring in a certain number of characters or anything, you just have to have them recruited.
Yeah, if you don't have the requirements of, in this case, 7 characters and 10 espers acquired, you will not be able to land on Kefka's Tower.
I mean, you could theoretically recruit every character and get every esper, and then fight the final boss, but obviously in a race scenario, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, potentially, he thought Gogo would have slowed him down a bit. I mean, in an ideal world, you want your main battle team of 4, plus 1 Moogle Charm carrier for each party. Hence the 7.
Yep. In this scenario, it could just be that Mr. Entity decided he would rather have Umaro, because while Gogo does have, I think, better flexibility as a character, Umaro you don't have to pay any attention to. He's just a big old meat shield.
Mildane bumped into Doomgaze? Huh? Where was
he...
that? Was that the Atma spot?
I think that was Toilet Atma, yeah.
This is why you don't fight bosses in Kefka's bathroom, folks.
Yep, he keeps some weird stuff in there. Thankfully, it looks like he went in there just after, like he saved with the other party just before going in there, so it doesn't look like he'll lose a lot of time off that.
Well, tentacles are being their usual annoying selves for Mr. Entity.
Yeah, I feel like Tentacles is a really difficult fight, or not really difficult, I should say. It is a more challenging fight in Kefka's Tower, just because you're less likely to have a full party, and so one character or 2 characters getting ceased like that can really hurt your damage. I think the worst scenario to run into Tentacles, we've actually seen recently where Tentacles is in the Phantom Train spot, and so you get forced into a back attack, and they can entwine everyone.
Mildane deciding he wants some more XP and taking on a Dirt Dargon. With just the Grandpa-Granddaughter combination, and this is going to hurt.
Yep.
I think that's a reset. Hone Tusk,
Mildain
of
going
course,
for some
hurts.
options to experience. But yeah, Dirt Dragon, not what you want to see there with the little girl. She's a little girl when she gets hurt, only the murder child when she's dealing tons of damage.
However, she is, in a few moments, going to move a 4-ton weight by herself, so... These are the mysteries.
Yeah, that was one of the things when I was younger that always confused me about this game, is that no matter what character you put in the party leader spot for this section, anybody can push 4 tons, which is just apparently was not enough for my small child brain to comprehend.
Has that really improved over time, though?
I've gotten better at suspending my disbelief, actually.
Nice.
Guess that comes of playing a lot of games.
That and old age making you bitter. At least that's how it works for me. I don't know about the rest of you. I loved that, Huda. Well done. 10 out of 10 for you. Although, £40 is still a lot of weight for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, but it is a lot more believable that they could push it off of, like, from a height.
That's a good point. It is a Japanese game that could actually weigh 4 tentacles. You don't know. Alright, Guardian spot for Mr. Entity, and Mildain will not be far behind.
Yep, this is looking to be a pretty close race here on the restream, at least.
Yep, Mildain will have a slight edge over Mr. Entity, just by the fact that his enemies are a couple of levels lower. So, less HP to whittle down.
Yep. That is one of the benefits of going in right away. It is a bit unfortunate for Mildain that he did get an extra character, but it does give him an extra body in Kefka's Tower, which is nothing to complain too loudly about.
Except, as Chat was pointing out earlier, he didn't take that extra body in.
Yeah, that is a bit confusing. Personally, my strategy is to bring basically any character I think can be of any use, because you never know what's going to happen in the final battle, and you never know who's going to end up in your party.
So, why would you take Strago in?
Why would I take Strago? What ability does he have in this seat?
I'm just referring to the fact that Strago
Okay.
has no use, don't worry. And yeah, as you can see, Mildain taking down
right,
Air
I
Force.
missed it.
Mildain taking down Air Force way ahead of Mr. Entity here, so takes the lead back for a moment.
Yeah, Mr. Entity actually got the spec and everything. But he does go down for Mr. Entity. Still very close for these two runners.
Using slots in the sea sounds kind of dangerous, Drew. Mildain pausing on Inferno, possibly checking out weaknesses.
That is a possibility. I know that is something that I did a lot starting out.
Yep, me too.
Just because I would much rather know what the bosses are weak to and lose a little bit of time than waste time casting the wrong elements. I wonder if we'll see Mildain decide his offense is good enough to just go straight for the Inferno or get rid of the arms, just because I believe that Inferno will still use Delta Hit even with scaled abilities on.
I mean, I definitely think you'd just go for Inferno because there's a good chance Amara is going to take an arm or two out.
Yep, well, when you're doing 5,000 damage a bolt, I think you can just reliably kind of DPS him down.
Which is precisely what happens. Inferno goes down for
Yeah.
Mildain and Mr. Entity, very close together.
That was pretty quick.
This is going to be interesting.
I think Mr. Entity threw some Thunder Rods there, which would definitely get him through that quite quickly.
It's going to be an interesting finish, that's for sure.
Yep, I am curious to see how close their times are here. Their finishing times, that is, just because it is looking pretty on pace. Mildane getting his first party on the last spot, the last switch. The very last switch puzzle in the whole game.
I prefer 3DS puzzles.
You would. And Mildane finding the Welk, very terrifying enemy.
Hopefully this fight won't go to snail's pace, so that he can escargot on to the next fight.
Is it my turn to ask for a different commentator?
Look, just laugh, don't be shellfish.
Fortunately, it does look like Mildane getting the Gru. And Mr. Entity, and he's got a spell queued up.
Oh, you do not want to Thunder the Shell. I mean, it stops a counter-attack, but it's still a bad. And as Drew has correctly stated in chat, whatever you do, don't attack the show. Because we're doing the best we can. Welk drops for Mildane. Looks like that gap's opening up a little bit.
It does look like Mr. Entity deciding to throw a rod here. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. You just kind of want to get this fight over with as quickly as possible.
Yep,
But that double jump with the spear will definitely...
Yeah, a couple of bounces, pretty painful.
Yep. That is the nice part about finding characters with natural jump. Especially when there's Sabin, since he's got some decent stats for physical attacking. I think this race is going to come down to how quickly our runners can get through the final battle. I've noticed that it is, while the final battle and the final Kefka's Tower is very similar each run, it really is a place where you can save a lot of time just by having a good strategy down and making sure you make that available to yourself.
Alright, time for Senor Behemoth on both screens.
Yep, it does look like our runners have a bit of different distribution of their characters here, so that is kind of interesting to see.
Though, Murder Child on both screens, always good to see.
Yep. Well, I mean, they don't call it the Murder Child for nothing.
Worth remembering that the no undead flag is turned on, so they won't be able to just magic away the undead form.
Go with a Valiant Knife there, putting out some damage.
Oh no, Strago using a level 1 cure to heal Realm. That's when you know times are tough.
I do not think Strago was one of Mildane's party members, so...
You know it's bad when Senor Behemoth's attack heals Realm for more than Strago could.
Yep, that is a bit silly to see.
Feelings on the short menu versus the normal menu in battle. I'm very much a normal menu person. How about you, Yvonne?
I personally use the short menu. I like I just think it's a little bit quicker to navigate, but it's just personal preference. I don't really think that one is faster over the other. I've used both in races.
Yeah, I think it's personal preference. Like, for example, I use Empty instead of Optimize as the option for when you equip a new relic. I also use Curse of Memory. That's pretty
memory
vital
can
to
be
me.
very simple. I play without it sometimes, but most of the time these days I do use Memory Cursor. It can be very helpful, especially when you get towards the end of the game or in the final battle, where a lot of the times you're using the same offensive spell many times in a row.
Well, Enti has overtaken Mildane again. Back and forth and back and
looks
forth.
looks like Entity gonna take some time to do some equipment shuffling.
Ooh, Strago taking a Doomcast from Senor Behemoth. Out.
Yeah, that is a bit unfortunate. Mr. Entity, in this case, I think, pulling a bit ahead just because he had a 3-man party in his slot, whereas Mildane just had the 2.
Oh, not the Dirk. Throw something heavier. This could be bad for Mildane.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised to not see him throwing some of the stronger weapons just to get rid of this particular boss. Senior Behemoth definitely has the potential to do some damage.
Alright, Mystery heading into the final battle.
Yep. But like I said, this final battle really could decide where these 2 runners end up.
And Sombrero
Nope,
Behemoth is
it's too
down
bad
for
for him.
Mildane. Not long now.
Yep, really just right next to each other in this race. It is pretty interesting to see. But with the fact that we know that Golem and Fenrir were both available in the seed, I don't think that either of our runners here should have a huge problem, but I am curious to see how they tackle the earlier phases. I think that's where a lot of the threat is in this particular fight.
And let's not forget, Mr. Entity's final battle 6 levels higher than Mildane.
That is true. I think
However, I just noticed the HP pool on his Terra.
Yeah. I think that it's going to work out okay for him.
Apparently Mildane never got Fenrir.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mildane does have Golem, though. I think all of our runners got Golem.
And there we go. Final Clef showing its true colours. Out comes a Grand Train.
Wow. Thankfully for Mr. Entity, it was single target Grand Train on Terra, which
It wasn't.
I think is exactly the character that he would want that to happen to.
Nope, it was a full party Grand Train. It's just Sabin and Gogo were in the sky.
Oh, yes. Good call. I didn't see the damage to Realm.
Realm isn't seeing anything right now, and neither is Terra. That is a reset for Mr. Entity.
Well,
Told you.
yeah, that's
rough.
That's rough. Well, I mean, we were talking about it at the start. That scaled final boss with those scaled abilities can be very dangerous.
If anyone is curious, by the way, these flag sets were chosen because a lot of these flags are ones that don't get seen very much. So open world, you very, very rarely see seeds with open world nowadays. Had one for the special Halloween race, but I don't remember the last one before that. And the scale final boss we never see.
Yep. It has been a long time since I've seen scaled final boss in a race, mostly because the final boss ends up lower level than normal in a lot of scenarios, which makes it easier in a lot of scenarios.
But with the new scale
that's
random,
right.
Can get interesting.
Franklin pointing out that he did skip a lot of free checks unless they were characters, so while he did get to his characters before he had progressed the levels a lot, he is missing out on some of the espers that the other runners found.
But what's odd is that I would have expected him to go back and pick some of those free checks up, so...
Yep. Maybe he just forgot because there's so many options. That is one of the things that I personally disliked playing open world, is that it is easy to get overwhelmed with how many options you have.
And, I mean, Franklin is right, he does have Phantom, he also has decent backup characters. So,
and maybe
he may
that's a strategy here.
Yeah, he may just eat the calmness and move on.
I've definitely had seeds where that's really the only calmness counter you can have. Just give some of your other characters the best gear they can equip and hope that they can be helpful in killing Final Kefka.
Yep, definitely. I've been there.
And sometimes it works. They end up just being a mule to throw items or something, but they still contribute.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially if you've got elemental shields or rods, they can still do something. Well, phase 1 down for Mildane, on
Yep.
to phase 2 as Mr. Entity embarks upon his battle once again.
Yep, that was a really unfortunate opening there.
So here's one for the knowledge buffs in chat. If you throw a scimitar, can it still do its chop in half thing?
I'm pretty sure it can't.
Darn. That would be an interesting strategy for some of the instant death vulnerable enemies if it worked. Well, Odin comes out and takes up tools for Mildane, so that's not really an issue.
Oof. Mr. Entity getting a 4K wump on Gogo.
Yep, getting bullied again.
Yes, I believe that's correct. Imperatus, it only maintains the element attribute.
Okay. So, as we're approaching the
I
end
think.
of the run, folks, don't forget, if you're enjoying the run, make sure to follow our runners and our commentary team and hop onto our Discord for more information about the randomizer and stuff. Wow, faster than me.
Well, to be fair, I started on FF6 Worlds Collide, and then you did the exclamation mark R and exclamation mark C, and I was like, haha, I'm
Nice.
helping.
Nice.
So Mildane making his way through phase 2 here. It looks like just trying to get rid of magic, which is not a bad play. If you don't have mute for magic, you definitely want to get rid of him as quickly as possible.
Yeah, magic's pretty scary sometimes. Possibly less scary than most things in a scaled battle, though.
Yes, that is true. I think the scaling will actually kind of help Mildane out here because it will mean magic is a bit quicker to die, and I don't know if magic is still going to use Life 3 with scaled abilities.
Well, Tiger currently has Reflect on by the looks of it, so that could be
Yeah,
interesting.
and that's why I say that magic is super annoying, because while he himself doesn't necessarily carry a lot of threat, he can cast spells like Life 3 on the other parts of the phase that are scary.
I mean, magic can cast Quarter, which can cause some problems.
Yes. In fact, getting the quarter death counter and then 10 hits immediately after can be very bad.
Yeah, that's a GG. In a lot of cases. But that's why I usually will leave magic until last, so...
Yep. I think it really depends on whether you can mute magic or not. It looks like Mr. E making some good time here.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like Mildane really has the offense for this. He's struggling to do damage to a lot of parts.
Yeah. And it looks like Mildane is trying to throw some of the lower level items here, whereas it appears that Mr. Entity is just kind of going all out, throwing everything. Yep, there was a siren there for Mr. Entity to get that mute on magic we were talking about. It is a pretty useful place to have that Esper, just because if you don't get a mute spell, it gives you access to that status effect.
Well, Mildane, despite the slightly inferior damage output, moving on to tier 3, but with very little to protect from calmness. Let's see how this goes.
I think that Mr. Entity is going to be just right behind him here.
Yeah,
He's been throwing
magic
some
is-
high-level sword.
Magic is casting spells, so it is dead. And on to tier 3. Opening with Whirlwind for Mildane. Hits 3 of the 4 characters, that's probably not what you want.
Yep, that is a bit of an oof. You only really want to see that if you have like a Valiant Knife character waiting in the wings to kill the girl with all that bonus damage. Mildane taking some time to use an elixir, not a bad play.
No, get your health back up, just in case other nasties come out, like Meteo later in the fight. Which, of course, could have been randomized into Ultima, or Goner, or any number of nasty stuffs.
Did Mildane already kill the girl?
I believe so. I saw some nasty throws go out towards the girl, so...
Okay. Because he used the White Dragon Rage on Terra, and I was just like, But it does look like the girl is dead.
Ooh.
So probably just trying to get through the fight as quickly as possible.
Another Whirlwind comes out and misses everybody. Calmness goes out for Mr. Entity. He's lost Terror, but into phase 4 he goes. As Mildane takes a train.
I'm a bit curious. I thought for sure that Mr. Entity had Golem, but it does look like he's pulling ahead here.
Yeah, not
Yeah, it
only
is a
did
bit
Terror die,
surprising.
but isn't this the Terror who had the Behemoth suit, the Illumina, and the Paladin shield?
Yes. That is correct.
That's unlucky.
That is, feels bad.
Ooh,
But it does look like
Landslide.
Dow's here.
Landslide counter from sleep? That's
That-
not as bad as Meteor.
It
Is
is
Calmness?
definitely not as bad as Media.
Lock blocks a calmness, Terror blocks a calmness, Mildane has his full party into tier 4. However, Gogo has a Valiant Knife and an Offering, and it's going to be a short final battle.
Yeah. Yes, I think Mr. Entity is going to get through this pretty quick. Personally, if I have a offering Valiant Knife, I like to wait until Kefka uses Fallen One, just to be at 1 HP, but I can't disagree with Mr. Entity's strategy here to just do it as quickly as possible,
Yeah,
especially since Gogo was already pretty low.
it's only, 870 extra damage, is not that much.
Yeah,
Per
it's not a
slap.
huge difference between how much HP he has now.
And Mr. Entity is done, we have
Mildane.
Kefka Flash.
Nice. Well, GG to Mr. Entity.
And there's a time of 2 hours, 36 minutes and 41 seconds.
Ooh, and it looks like Mildane not having quite as smooth a time in his final battle. He's got a bunch of trained people, and they're all at 1 HP. And it looks like Mr. Entity will be joining us for a post-game interview.
Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, I'm not set up to have Mildane's game audio, so we're onto the playlist for a moment.
Hello.
And here we have Mr. Entity, our second place finisher for the night. GG.
Thank you.
So, the first thing I want to comment on.
Yes.
You really hammered that A button when you were trying to equip Amaro. How disappointed were you?
So disappointed.
How did you find the seed overall?
Gogo was the worst possible character to start with. And the other main thing I can comment on is that's the first time I've done a scaled Kefka with scaled elements, and it sucks a lot.
Yeah, that Grand Train really hurt you in the first phase, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I got whumped for like 4k. It didn't go well. Basically, that entire seed was down to me finding an Illumina from a dragon, a Paladin shield from Doomgaze, and Thunder Rods, which is a strategy I very rarely use from Tizen.
However, of note, you went into the final battle slightly ahead of Mildane. You reset and went in slightly behind Mildane, and you still finished ahead. Probably thanks to that Valiant Knife.
The Valiant Knife and probably just throwing all the biggest weapons I could and then copying them.
So, what are your thoughts on Terra taking that calmness through what must have been some seriously god tier evade?
She had like 100 or so yeah, that wasn't great. But mostly I was surprised Girl had so little HP. Because I've been used to her with normalized stats recently, where she has like 30k. But this time she just took 2 hits and went down, and then everything else was queued up, and I couldn't do anything about it.
Just to jump in real quick, Mildane has finished 3rd place at the time of 2 hours, 39 minutes, and 33 seconds. Very close finish there at the end.
Yeah, good job, him. I think the main difficulty was actually that with tiered espers and tiered shops and tiered chests, there was virtually... I saw elixirs somewhere. Tried 2 towns that I thought it wasn't either of those, and there was no other way to heal. So it was just about getting damage out on Kefka before you died.
Okay. Any major highlights, lowlights from the run?
Umaro was a problem. Finding that Illumina after killing 5 dragons was the point where that strategy panned out. I tried the Colosseum for the first time, and it was a waste of time. Waste of time.
We were a bit curious by the amount of checks you were doing after you hit go mode. Did you misread the requirements, or was there something else behind that?
Was it not 7-10?
It was, and you finished like 8-12-5. Hence the confusion. Like
I finished 7-10. I was at 7-11, and I killed dragons because I wanted levels and items.
See, according to
No,
Franklin,
at 8-12.
According to Franklin, you were at 7-10 before you went to Figaro Basement.
Well, then I misclicked on my tracker.
We've all done it.
Yeah, but mostly I was just killing dragons. That's the main thing that I went out of my way to do, because I wanted items, because tiered chests could not be relied upon to get me good stuff, and even the dragons weren't giving me great crap, so, yeah. I mean, I won, so good on me.
I do want to get Mildane in for a little chat, so any closing comments from you, Mr. Entity?
Just thanks as usual for the people running the thing. Thanks to Atma, and if anybody from the community wants to join Jack and I, we'll be hosting a Jackbox Games over on my stream tomorrow, and you're all welcome to come by and have some fun.
Alright, thank you very much for coming in. GG on a Race World run, and we'll catch you next week.
Have a good one.
And finally, we have Mildane. GG on finishing the run. That wasn't the easiest run to finish.
Good evening. No, it wasn't.
How did you find it?
It was hard to get started. Clearly, with a go-go start. Had to find another character somewhere. Fortunately, there was one at a free check.
So, one thing you did that I was very impressed with personally is, despite all the free checks out there, you were the only runner who went through them, saw that it wasn't a character, and decided, actually, I don't want to increase the enemy scaling.
Yeah, I'd done a little bit of practice with the progress times 3 scaling, and I realized that free checks were not free. It's very easy to scale bosses beyond what you can actually handle.
Yeah, very much. So, any major highlights and lowlights from you from the run, other than the go-go start?
Where were all the good offensive options that I just completely failed to find?
Thunder Rods in World of Balanced Zen, and an Illumina from a dragon.
The Fanatics Tower Dragon.
Did not go to Fanatics Tower. Okay. I mean, finding Bolt 3 at the end is like, okay, it's a level 3 spell, I'll take it.
Yeah, there was also a Valiant Knife at the top of Fanatics Tower.
But
okay, but
most of the good offensive options were things like throw and your high tier magics.
Yep, yeah, and in the end, that's what I wound up using. But the opaqueness of the random tiered option for flags is, I'm just not sure what to expect with that yet, because it's so new.
See, you say that, but we did see some very nice pickups from them tonight. We saw at least a behemoth suit, a scimitar, and a red jacket very early.
True, there was that.
So it's not too bad, all things considered.
Mm-hmm. That's just
well,
go
on.
I was just saying the tiered magic just made finding any decent magic seem very difficult.
But you got there, and that's what matters. It wasn't an easy seed,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Kudos for finishing
No.
it. Any closing remarks from you?
I don't think so. I mean, I the open world is a nice change of pace. This is the first one I've done pretty much, other than practicing for this. But this is the first actual race in open world I've done.
Alright, well, thank you very much for coming in, Mildane. GG again on a race well run, and I'm sure we'll see you very, very soon.
Thank you. Good night.
So, Von, any closing remarks on tonight's race?
I don't know. That was a bit of a rough seat. It was cool to see the runners take some different tactics to it. It was definitely a good race.
Yeah, it was very interesting to
it
run
was.
some less used flags, see some different options and some different routes coming out from the runners.
Yeah, even though it did seem to frustrate a lot of the runners starting out, especially Fraggle, unfortunately. I still think it was nice to see, especially because I'm not as familiar with those flags, especially open world, so it was nice to see a race in that format for me.
So, a little look ahead to the week to come then. Monday at 9 PM US Eastern Time, we have the Final Fantasy 1 Randomizer weekly race. Wednesday, hopefully at 7 PM Eastern, we're going to have a Kefka Grand Prix restream for Worlds Collide. Same on Friday at 7 PM Eastern for another Kefka Grand Prix race, and then 10 PM Eastern for the Final Fantasy 4 Free Enterprise weekly community race. And then we'll be back here on Saturday at 7 PM for another Worlds Collide weekly community race. So I hope you'll come along and check all of those wonderful things out, or as many as your time allows. However, from myself, from Von Marlin, and from Franklin, I think it's time we bid you good night.
Yep, good night. Thanks for stopping by, friends.
Yep, thank you very much for watching and chatting, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.